It's creamy, it's savory, has a little bit of sweetness. The bread is perfectly crispy. This is like something you would have at a restaurant, but way healthier. Welcome back, everyone. We are making creamy goat cheese dip. I love this recipe because everyone loves it and asks for the recipe. I am hesitant to even call it a recipe, it's more of a method, but I want you to learn how to make this because goat cheese is a type of dairy that has medium chain fatty acids. Cow's milk is full of long chain fatty acids and is a bit harder to digest, where goat's milk and goat cheese are a little bit easier to digest. This dip is creamy, it's savory, it's a tiny bit sweet. It's something that people will ask for by name. I highly recommend that you learn how to make this. So you'll want to decide how much you want to make first. If you're serving, I don't know, 6 to 8 to 10 people at a party, I would get the larger goat cheese. This is 10.5 ounces. If it's just a small girls' night, maybe 4 of you, or a small gathering, just a few of you, you can use a small one. So what you'll want to do is pick a vessel that is about the size of the goat cheese that you are using. So today I'm gonna make the bigger one. So I'll use this bowl. Just make sure that whatever dish you have can go in the oven. I love this one. It can go in the oven and it came with this trivet. I'll link to everything I'm using here in the description below if you want to use this stuff as well. So into a mixing bowl, I'll do 10 ounces or one of these larger logs of goat cheese. Hopefully you thought ahead to let it come to room temperature because it's easier to mix. If you forgot to bring it out, I've done that many times and it's not room temperature, you can actually just let it heat up in the oven for a few minutes, like 2 minutes, and it will soften and then it'll be easier to mix together. You'll also want to preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. So there's 10.5 ounces, you could do 10 or 12 ounces of goat cheese, room temperature. And here's the trick. At your store, find the olive bar. Most grocery stores have like a Mediterranean bar or an olive bar. And you want to get this olive tapenade. You can buy olive tapenade in a jar as well, but you can just buy it right off of the Mediterranean or the olive bar. If you're using the small goat cheese, you want to use 2 tablespoons of olive tapenade. I'm using the bigger one, so I'm gonna go 4 tablespoons of olive tapenade. 4 tablespoons right in. The cool thing about this recipe, like I said, you can adjust this. So if you wanna use more, if you're like, no, this definitely needs more, use more. If you want a little bit less, you can use less. Olive tapenade is simply chopped up olives with some salt and olive oil already in it. And here's the trick. This is what I think makes this taste so good and why everybody always asks me for the recipe. So olive tapenade is really savory. Goat cheese is very savory. I buy some of these sweet peppers. Sometimes they're called Teardrop. Whatever it is, on the olive bar, there are sweet peppers. They often look like this. If your store does not have these little sweet ones, they probably have something called Peppadews, which is another sweet pepper that's on the olive bar. So whatever's on the olive bar, look for something that says sweet. And when you get it at home, you can just taste it. They should just have a little bit of sweetness to them. Great, that's sweet. So either one of those. So then I'm gonna take about a tablespoon of those. You need to chop these up so that they are intermixed in the olive tapenade. This is what makes this taste so good. So depending on the peppers that you get, you do want to chop up the sweet ones. It's the combination of the really savory olive tapenade with these sweet peppers that make everybody ask for the dip. Just chop those up, add those straight in. Now, very easy, just add a sprinkle of salt, about 1/4 teaspoon, and 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Helps everything come together and makes the dip extra creamy. I have tested a lot of variations of this recipe. I've done more olive oil, I've tried cooking it longer, I've done with some freshly grated Parmesan cheese, but honestly, this very simple recipe is always the best and always what people ask for. So take your oven-safe dish. You don't even need to spray it or anything. We've got some olive oil in here. And we're just heating it through. If you overcook the goat cheese, it's not a great texture. It becomes very crumbly and dry. So we basically just want to heat it through. If you're making something else the same night and you already have the oven at 400, that's great. Put it in at 400 for about 10 minutes. If you don't have anything else in the oven, do 375 for about 10 minutes, just until it's nice and warm and melty. That top will be a little bit golden brown around the edges, but you don't want to cook it past that because again, it'll get too dry. So just kind of smooth that out, make it look nice. If you have some around the edges, clean that up because that'll kind of burn onto the edges. So this looks great. Into the oven for 15 minutes at 375, and we are going to have perfect goat cheese dip. While that prepares in the oven, let's slice up some bread. So I like baguette with this. Any bread that you like will work. I think baguette is really, really nice. Let me grab a bread knife. Just slice this up. This is also really nice with almond flour crackers. So get your bread onto a baking sheet. I like to use this olive oil spray. Make sure you read the ingredients. It should just say extra virgin olive oil. There is air in here to propel this, and it just needs a tiny spray of olive oil on the top to help these crisp up. And it's usually perfect timing. You can take the goat cheese dip out of the oven and then put these in for just about 3 minutes. I like them just slightly crispy. I don't like to overcook them. You can broil it, but obviously watch it very closely so you don't burn the bread. And the goat cheese needs a couple of minutes to cool off. So while it cools off a little bit, you can toast up these breads, and it makes such a great appetizer for any occasion. These look perfect. They're just barely toasty. Again, I don't like mine too toasted. I feel like they become too hard and crusty, and they kind of hurt the top of your mouth. These are hot, so I'm gonna use my tongs and just move them over to this pretty plate. Like I said, I've tested this recipe so many different ways. People ask for it by name, just like this. It's simple. It's that combination of the savory olive tapenade with the sweet peppers that it's just really, really good. And again, it's not a super heavy appetizer. You don't feel like your stomach hurts after you've eaten a bunch of this. It's a nice, creamy, good appetizer that you feel good eating. All right, let's try this. This is exactly what you want it to look like. See how it's still creamy? Don't overcook this. If it's overcooked, it's dry and crumbly and not super appealing. This is so creamy. And again, it's not a gut bomb. It's a healthier version of a dip that has dairy in it. Let's give it a try. It's so perfect. It's creamy, it's savory, has a little bit of sweetness. The bread is perfectly crispy. This is like something you would have at a restaurant, but way healthier. It is delicious. This is also really good with almond flour crackers if you don't want to do the bread, or of course you could serve it with veggies too. If you like this episode, please click like on this video and subscribe to the channel. I'm all about bringing you healthy, delicious, easy recipes every single week. Make sure you come back for next week's episode and check out the channel for all of our previous episodes. I'll see you here next week.